Welcome to another edition of Ethical Bets, a show where I only talk about games that I have personally bet. This is my first video here in a while, first video since round one of the tournament, where we went 2-0 in the video. We had St. Louis money line against Georgia, and we had VCU money line against UNC, in which I said don't trust Hubert Davis. Boy, was I right about that one. He has since been fired. So we went 2-0 in that video, and today I'm going to go over one game here in the Sweet 16 on Friday. We got Duke and St. John's. So let's go ahead and get into it. So, a lot of people have been low on Duke recently, and I mean, I get it. Without Gumba, their center, and Caleb Foster, they looked like shit for a while there. The conference tournament, I was on Florida State plus like 18.5. They almost won outright. It came down, they missed a buzzer beater at the end. They could have beat Duke. And then they had a back and forth, really close game with Virginia. And then, of course, the Siena matchup. My God, almost, it was a battle. It took everything they had to beat 16 seed Siena. But that was without Foster and their 6'11 center, Patrick Gumba. I think that all changes now that Gumba is back. Like, he was back the TCU game, and it was a shaky first half, but they end up murdering TCU. And I expect, now he's got a game under his belt, more practice time under his belt since coming back. I think the team's going to look even better now, now that he'll be more in rhythm. He's very important to Duke, especially rim protection, because he's 6'11 center, offensive and defensive rebounding, and also he just helps their offense a lot. He's a really good passer for a big man. Shire loves running this play where he's got everybody spread out at the 3-point line, and he's got Gumba either right at the 3-point line or maybe a step in front of it. Everybody else is spread but Cam Boozer, and he's got establishes really deep low post position, and it provides a one-on-one post up for Cam Boozer, and Gumba feeds it to him. That's a really good play, tough to stop. So I think he's just really important to their team as a whole. And Duke's the bigger team here. They're a bigger team than St. John's. St. John's really, obviously, they're not the best 3-point shooting team. So you kind of want to force St. John's to shoot threes and, take away them scoring inside. I think it's going to be really tough for St. John's to score inside on Duke. They're a really good offensive rebounding team. Rank, what's that, 36 in the nation in offensive rebounding percentage. Problem is, we go over to Duke, they are 8th in defensive rebounding percentage. They do not give up offensive rebounds. Really, the only 2 times this season where the other team has had a lot of success getting offensive rebounds against Duke was Florida, which no shame in that, and first game of the year against Texas. I don't think St. John's is going to get that many offensive rebounds against Duke. So I don't expect they're going to get a lot of second chance points. Also, Duke is 5th in the nation in offensive rebounding percentage, whereas St. John's is 143 in defensive rebounding percentage. So I actually think Duke is going to be able to kind of beat up St. John's on that end and get Duke's going to get a lot of offensive rebounds, I feel like, in this matchup. Also, something else I like on the Duke side, obviously, so St. John's, they rank 216th in the nation in 3-point percentage. Again, not really their game. We saw them shoot against Kansas, wasn't great. Look at Duke's defensive 3-point rate, 337. That means they force teams to shoot a shit ton of threes. We've seen, Shire a bunch of times this year will switch to zone. So Duke really forces their opponent to shoot a lot of threes. And do you trust St. John's to make those threes? I think that could be what the game comes down to. I do not trust St. John's to hit their open threes. And again, Duke does a great job at forcing teams to shoot them. I think St. John's is going to, much like Kansas in the Kansas game, jack up a lot of three-pointers, and I don't think they're going to make a lot of them. I think Duke's going to be able to win, the field goal attempts game and get more shots than St. John's. I also think with such an aggressive defense St. John's has, I think a guy like Cam Boozer is going to be able to get to the free throw line a lot in this game. So yeah, I think St. John's is really going to struggle to score, and I think Duke is going to win the possession battle, shut them down on the defensive end. I think they're just a completely different team with Gumba back in the lineup. So I'm going with Duke minus 6.5. And that's it so far. That's my only bet for the Sweet 16. Probably no bets for the games tonight. I'm gonna look over the games for Friday again later. If I make any more picks, I will upload another video. But until then, give it a like and subscribe if you want more videos like this. And until next time, I don't have a catchphrase yet.